Good afternoon. Today my topic is etiology of schizophrenia. I'm Dr. Saidan Ajwa, postgraduate, Department of Psychiatry, Sri Lakshmi Narayana Institute of Medical Science, Puducherry, Bharat Institute of Higher Education and Research. The various contents that we're going to look today is history, genetic factors, biochemical factors, neuropathology, neural circuits, brain metabolism, applied electrophysiology, high movement dysfunction, psychoneuroimmunology, psychoneuroendocrinology, psychosocial and psychoanalytical theories, and family dynamics. Coming on to the history of schizophrenia, actually, Greek physicians were the one who described delusions of grandeur, paranoia, and deterioration in cognitive functions and personality. In 19th century, schizophrenia was considered as a medical condition was worthy of study and treatment. Emil Kraepelin and Eugen Bleuler was the one who studied about schizophrenia. Benedict Morrell was the one who used the term dementia precox, or deteriorated patients whose illness began in adolescence. This Emil Kraepelin was the one who translated the dementia precox as dementia precox. And dementia means decrease in cognition, and precox is early onset. These patients have a long-term deteriorating course and clinical symptoms such as hallucinations and delusions. The manic depressive psychosis are episodes of illness alternating with periods of normal functioning. Paranoia is a condition with persistent persecutory delusions. These patients lack deteriorating course of dementia precox and intermittent symptoms of manic depressive psychosis. Eugen Bleuler was the one who coined the term schizophrenia to express the presence of schism in thought, emotions, and behavior in patients. He stressed that schizophrenia need not have a deteriorating course. He was the one who identified the primary symptoms of schizophrenia, which is denoted with 4 A's, namely associational disturbances of thought, that is loosening of association, and affective disturbances, autism, and ambivalence. He identified the secondary symptoms, which were major indicators of dementia precox, as hallucinations and delusions. Ernst Kretschmer was the one who thought that schizophrenia occurred more in persons with asthenic, that is slender people, or athletic and dysplastic body than Python, who's more likely to be present in bipolar disorders. His observations were not inconsistent with superficial impression of body types in schizophrenia patients. Kurt Snyder was the one who gave the first rank symptoms, which was useful for making diagnosis. He emphasized that patients with no first rank symptoms could be diagnosed based on second rank symptoms or by typical clinical appearance. The clinicians ignore and sees the absence of first rank symptoms in a single interview, as that patient does not have schizophrenia. And Carl Jasper was the one who had a major role in developing the existential psychoanalysis. His interest was in phenomenology and subjective feeling of patients with the illness. He tried to understand the psychological meaning of schizophrenic signs and symptoms, such as the delusions and hallucinations. Adolf Meyer was the one who saw schizophrenia as a reaction to life stresses. It was a maladaptation that was understandable in terms of patients' life experience. Meyer's view in 1950s was referred to as schizophrenic reactions. Later, this term was then dropped out. The various genetic factors includes in a monozygotic twins, approximately there is 50% concordance rate, which is 4 to 5 times the rate of a dizygotic twin or a first degree relative. The rate further drops with further degrees of relatives. Higher rates of schizophrenia among biological relatives of an adopted person who develop schizophrenia. Monozygotic twin data study reveals that individuals who are genetically vulnerable to schizophrenia don't certainly develop the schizophrenia. Other factors such as environment also plays a role, which is must be involved in determining a schizophrenic outcome. Age of the father always has a correlation with the developmental of schizophrenia. In some cases, children born from fathers of more than 60 years were more vulnerable to develop the disorder, and this is because the spermatogenesis in older men had a greater epigenetic damage than that of younger men. The modes of genetic transmission in schizophrenia remains to be unknown. However, there are several genes which makes a contribution to schizophrenia vulnerability. The linkage and association of genetic studies provides a strong evidence for 9 linkage sites that includes 1q, 5q, 6p, 6q, 8p, 10p, 13q, 15q, and 22q. The specific candidate gene and best current candidates is alpha 7 nicotinic receptor, DISC1, GRM3, COMT, COMT, and NRG1, neureglin, and RGS4 and G72. And the mutations of the genes dystrobrevin, that is DTNBP1, and neureglin are associated with negative features of schizophrenia. So here's a picture of various genes, risk genes, which may cause for the vulnerability of schizophrenia. And on this side, how we have seen the spectrum, how efficient it is and how inefficient it is. And this is another picture depicting the classical theory, how genes causes mental illness. Initially, it was known that there was a hypothetical mental illness gene which causes the abnormal gene products, which results in neuronal malfunction and hence resulting in mental illness. However, this theory there was no supportive evidence for this theory. And again, there was an endophenotype model where there's an hypothetical gene for a particular behavior, personal or temperament, which causes an abnormal gene, which results in neuronal malfunctioning, resulting in psychiatric symptoms, abnormal behavior, and personality or temperament. However, this endophenotype model also did not have any much supportive evidences. And here this is a stress diathesis model of schizophrenia. There are many factors involved in this. For a hypothetical gene for a subacute molecular abnormality, this may result in neurodevelopmental problems such as in selection, migration, differentiation, synaptogenesis, or synaptogenesis, or it may alter the enzymes for monoamine degradation. Hypothesis states that schizophrenia, there's an increased dopaminergic activity. The theory evolved from 2 observations. The first one is efficacy and potency of many antipsychotic drugs are correlated with their ability to act as an antagonist of D2 receptors. The drugs that increases the dopaminergic activity, such as cocaine and amphetamine, were known to be psychotomimetics. And the mesocortical and mesolimbic pathway, the dopaminergic neurons in these tracts projects from their cell bodies in midbrain to the dopaminoceptive neurons in the limbic system and cerebral cortex. The excessive dopamine release in schizophrenia resulted in the severity of positive psychotic symptoms. So here, this is how the dopamine is produced. From the tyrosine transporter, the tyrosine enters the dopaminergic neurons. Here, it gets converted into tyrosine hydroxylase, and it gets converted to DOPA by dopamine decarboxylase, and by thyroxine hydroxylase, it gets converted to dopa. With the help of dopamine decarboxylase, it gets converted to dopamine, which is then stored in the vesicles, VMA, stored in vesicles, and then it is further transported out as dopamine. It is stored in the vesicles with the help of VMA2, 82, and how the dopamine's action is terminated. You can see the other picture. It is mainly by MAO A and B, which destroys the dopamine, and there's also COMT, catechol O-methyl transferase, which also destroys the dopamine. And moreover, the dopamine transporter itself can be get inhibited, or it gets inhibited or stimulated depending upon the need for the dopamine. And these are the various dopamine receptors. In the presynaptic, we have the D2 autoreceptors, and in the postsynaptic, we have D1, D2, D3, D4, and D5. This D2 autoreceptors, they act as a gatekeeper. Once the D2 receptors autoreceptors are bound by dopamine, it closes the gate, and hence the further release of dopamine gets arrested. And here we also have the D2 somatodendric autoreceptors, which when it is bound, it will further decreases the neuronal transmission, and hence decreases the dopamine release. And here, this is the various dopamine pathways we have, which includes the substantia nigra to the striatum, and mainly the mesocortical, mesolimbic, nigrostriatal, and tubulointerfundibular pathways. And here is an overview of the neurodevelopment. That means the stem cells, this one which produces immature neurons, which is eliminated, and this is how the neurogenesis goes on from selection to migration, differentiation, and myelination, and synaptogenesis, that is presynaptic axonal growth and connections, and synaptogenesis is postsynaptic dendrite arborization and complete elimination of synapses or loss of dendrite arborization. This is the multiple susceptibility, that genes converge on the MDA synapses in schizophrenia. So NMDR hypofunction may lead to disconnectivity, abnormal LTP, long-term potentiation, abnormal synaptic plasticity and connectivity, inadequate synaptic strength, and dysregulation of AMPA-R, or abnormal competitive elimination of synapses. The neurodevelopmental hypothesis of schizophrenia, that is the key susceptibility gene causing abnormal synaptogenesis, depicts this picture. So abnormal synaptic strengthening and disconnectivity may lead to weak synapses and competitively eliminated. So PET studies of dopamine receptors have revealed that there are increased D2 receptors in the caudate nucleus of drug-free patients with schizophrenia. Increased dopamine concentration in the amygdala, and decreased density of the dopamine transporter, and increased number of D4 receptors in the entorhinal cortex. The serotonin has revealed that the current hypothesis is that there is a serotonin excess which causes the positive and negative symptoms in schizophrenia. The effectiveness of the serotonin antagonist activity of clozapine and other second-generation antipsychotics have revealed decrease in the positive symptoms in chronic patients. Coming on to the norepinephrine, anhedonia, which is an impaired capacity of emotional gratification and decreased ability to experience the pleasure, is a prominent feature of schizophrenia. Anhedonia is mostly due to the selective neuronal degeneration within the norepinephrine neural reward system. But however, the biochemical and pharmacological data on this proposal are inconclusive. The GABA, which is an inhibitory acid neurotransmitter, gamma aminobutyric acid, and schizophrenia has a loss of GABAergic neurons in the hippocampus. GABA, which is has a regulatory effect on the dopamine activity. Loss of inhibitory GABAergic neurons may lead to hyperactivity of dopaminergic neurons. The neuropeptides, that is substance P and neurotensin, which are localized with the catecholamine and indolamine neurotransmitters, influence the actions of these neurotransmitters. Alteration in the neuropeptide mechanism may lead to facilitation or inhibition or alteration in the pattern of firing of these neuronal systems. The glutamate is an ingestion of phencyclidine, that is glutamine antagonist, which produces an acute syndrome which is similar to that of schizophrenia. So this hypothesis revealed the hyperactivity, hypoactivity, and glutamate-induced neurotoxicity. Acetylcholine and nicotine have shows that the postmortem in schizophrenia results in decreased muscarinic and nicotinic receptors in the caudate, putamen, hippocampus, and selected regions of the prefrontal cortex, and it plays an important role in the regulation of neurotransmitter systems involved in cognition that is impaired in schizophrenia. So this is the first picture of how glutamate is recycled and regenerated. The glutamate which comes out of the neuron can be taken in by the glial cells with the help of EAAT, and this glutamate is further with the help of glutamine synthetase is converted to glutamine in the glial cells. And this is how it is stored into vesicles with the help of Wigler. This glutamine then comes into the neurons, and with the help of glutaminase, it then gets converted into glutamate and gets stored into vesicles with the help of Wigler-T. The NMDA receptors co-transmitter is glycine is produced. In a case of glycine neuron, which can be reuptake by the transporter GlyT2, and it may either go and directly go to the NMDA receptors, or the glutamate which is released from the neuron can also be connect with the NMDA receptors, or it can also be reuptake into the glutamate neuron with the help of GlyT1. And this L-serine or LSER can be taken into the glial cells with the help of LSERT transfer mechanism, which is then converted into L-serine is then converted to glycine, which can also be taken in again by GlyT1 or taken out, and then this glycine can also bind with the NMDA receptor. So NMDA receptor co-transmitter also in which the D-serine is also produced, and this another picture demonstrates how the D-serine is produced. The neuropathology is that in 19th century, neuropathologists failed to find neuropathological findings, and schizophrenia was classified as a functional disorder. End of 20th century, the neuropathological basis of schizophrenia revealed that primarily in limbic system and basal ganglia, including the neuropathological and neurochemical abnormalities in cerebral cortex, thalamus, and brainstem. The schizophrenic brain shows a loss of brain volume due to the reduced density of axons, dendrites, and synapses, which mediates the associative functions of the brain. The synaptic density is highest at 1 year of age, down to adult values in early adolescence, and there's an excessive pruning of synapses in adolescence. Patient often develops schizophrenic symptoms during this period. The cerebral ventricles The CT scans of schizophrenic patients reveals that lateral and third ventricular enlargement with reduction in the cortical volume, reduced volume of cortical gray matter is the early stage of the disease. Some studies have revealed that lesion observed on the CT is present only at the onset of illness and don't progress. Other studies have revealed the pathological process of CT which continues to progress during the illness. Reduced symmetry. Schizophrenia shows a reduced symmetry in temporal, frontal, and occipital regions, and reduced symmetry may originate during fetal life, and it is indicative of disruption in brain lateralization and during neurodevelopment. So this is a picture depicting how there's a gray matter loss comparison in normal and schizophrenic patients. So the limbic system has a role in controlling emotions. Postmortem studies have revealed that in a schizophrenic brain, there's a decrease in the regions such as amygdala, hippocampus, and parahippocampal gyri. This neuropathological finding and MRI schizophrenic patients were correlated. Hippocampus were smaller in size and functionally abnormal disturbances in glutamate transmission were present. In case of schizophrenia, there's a disorganization of neurons within the hippocampus, that is the brain tissue sections. Prefrontal cortex. Postmortem brain studies of schizophrenic patients have revealed anatomical abnormalities in the prefrontal cortex. Brain imaging of prefrontal regions showed functional deficits. Symptoms of schizophrenia mimics the patients with prefrontal lobotomies and frontal lobe syndrome. So thalamus, some studies have revealed there's a volume shrinkage or neuronal loss in particular subnuclei. Medial dorsal nuclei of thalamus has reciprocal connections with the prefrontal cortex, which contains a reduced number of neurons. Total number of neurons, that is oligodendrocytes and astrocytes, were reduced by 30 to 45%. This doesn't appear due to the effects of antipsychotic drugs because the volume of thalamus is similar in size between the patients with schizophrenia treated chronically and with medications and neuroleptic naive subjects. Basal ganglia and cerebellum. Basal ganglia and cerebellum were involved in the control of movements. Schizophrenic may show odd movements, awkward gait, facial grimacing, and stereotypies. Even absence of medication-induced movement disorders like tardive dyskinesia. Movement disorders involving basal ganglia, that is Huntington's disease and Parkinson's disease, are most commonly associated with psychosis. Neuropathological studies of basal ganglia shows inconclusive reports about cell loss or reduction of volume of globus pallidus and substantia nigra. And studies have revealed the increase in the number of D2 receptors in caudate putamen and nucleus accumbens may be due to secondary to antipsychotics. Studies of serotonergic system in basal ganglia has a role of serotonin in psychotic disorder and clinical usefulness of antipsychotic drugs, that is serotonin antagonists such as clozapine and risperidone. Neural circuits, these are the 4 dopamine pathways: mesolimbic, mesocortical, nigrostriatal, and tuberohypophyseal, tuberoinfundibular. Mesolimbic is generally concerned with the positive symptoms. Mesocortical is concerned with the negative and cognitive and affective symptoms. Nigrostriatal is concerned with the EPS and tardive dyskinesia, drug side effects. And tuberohypophyseal, that is tuberoinfundibular pathway, is often associated with hyperprolactinemia, which is again a side effect of the drug. So the basal ganglia and cerebellum are reciprocally connected to the frontal lobes. Abnormalities in the frontal lobe function may be due to disease in either area. Early developmental lesions of dopaminergic tracts to the prefrontal cortex shows disturbances of the prefrontal and limbic system functions, which leads to the positive and negative symptoms of cognitive symptoms and cognitive impairments. Linking prefrontal cortex and the limbic system studies have revealed the relationship between hippocampal morphological abnormalities and disturbances in prefrontal cortex, metabolism, function, or growth. The functional and structural imaging studies have revealed the dysfunction of the anterior cingulate basal ganglia, that's thalamocortical circuit, which shows positive psychotic symptoms, and dysfunction of the dorsolateral prefrontal circuit, which is the primary and negative deficit symptoms, neural basis for impaired cognitive functions in schizophrenia. Relationship among impaired working memory performance, disrupted prefrontal neuronal integrity, altered prefrontal cingulate and inferior parietal cortex, and altered hippocampal blood flow provides a strong support for the disruption of the normal working memory and neural circuit in patients with schizophrenia. Functional imaging studies have revealed involvement of this circuit for auditory hallucinations, contrast hallucinating and non-hallucinating patients. So, in case of neutral stimuli, when scary face sees it, there's a changes in amygdala. And in case of in case of schizophrenia patients, when they see a scary face, there's no much reactivity. And neutral stimulus, when normal person says a neutral phase, there's no much reactivity in the amygdala. However, when schizophrenic patients, even on seeing a neutral phase, they have reactivity. This is the localization of symptom domains. The positive symptoms, as I have mentioned earlier, are related to the mesolimbic pathway. The negative symptoms are related to the mesocortical or prefrontal cortex and nucleus accumbens, which is the reward circuit. The cognitive symptoms are more specifically involved with the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. These have revealed the magnetic resonance and spectroscopy is a technique that measures the concentration of specific molecules in the brain. And magnetic resonance spectroscopy studies have showed that schizophrenic patients have lower levels of phosphomonoester and inorganic phosphate and higher levels of phosphodiester and concentration of N-acetyl aspartate, which is the marker of neurons, are lower in hippocampus and frontal lobes of schizophrenia. Applied electrophysiology, electroencephalographic studies have revealed that schizophrenic patients have abnormal records, increased sensitivity to activation procedures such as frequent spike activity after sleep deprivation, decreased alpha activity, increased theta and delta activity, possibly more epileptiform activity than usual, possibly more left-sided abnormalities than usual. In schizophrenics, there is an inability to filter the irrelevant sound, extremely sensitive to background noise. Fretting of sound makes the concentration difficult and factors in production of auditory hallucinations. Sound sensitivity associated with genetic defect. Complex partial seizures. Schizophrenic-like psychosis are expected in patients with complex partial seizures, especially involving the temporal lobe. Factors associated with the development of psychosis, that is left-sided seizure focus, medial temporal location of lesions, early onset of seizures. Snyder's first-rank symptoms similar to the symptoms of complex partial seizures, epilepsy, and reflects the presence of temporal lobe disorder when seen in patients with schizophrenia. They will have an impairment of consciousness, that is cognitive affective symptoms, dreamy state, blank, vacant, and vacant expressions, deja vu, jamais vu, or fear, superior temporal gyrus, when psychomotor phenomena such as chewing movements, wetting lips, automatism, picking at clothing, dysphasia, formed visual hallucinations, sees houses, trees that are not there, bad or unusual smell. Evoked potentials. There is a large number of abnormalities in the evoked potentials among schizophrenia, which has been described. P300, which is large and positive evoked potential wave, occurs about 300 milliseconds after the sensory stimuli. Limbic system structures of medial temporal lobes is the major source of P300 wave. Schizophrenic, that is P300, smaller than the comparison groups. Abnormalities in the P300 wave is more common in children. Affected parents have high risk of schizophrenia. The evoked potential abnormal in schizophrenia is N100 and contingent negative variation. N100, which is a negative wave which occurs about 100 milliseconds after stimulants, and contingent negative variation is slowly developing negative voltage shift following a sensory stimuli, which is a warning for upcoming stimulus. And schizophrenics usually is sensitive to sensory stimuli, which is larger early evoked potentials, and this compensates for the increased insensitivity by blunting the processing of information at higher cortical levels indicated by the smaller late evoked potentials. The eye movement dysfunction. Eye movement dysfunction is a trait marker for schizophrenia. Smooth visual pursuit, that is inability to follow a moving visual target accurately. Disinhibition of saccadic eye movement. It is independent of the drug treatment and clinical state. It is also seen in first-degree relatives of schizophrenic patients. Studies have revealed abnormal eye movements, that is 50 to 85% with schizophrenia, 25% in psychiatric patients without schizophrenia, and 10% in non-psychiatric ill-controlled participants. Psychoneuroimmunology. Immunological abnormalities associated with schizophrenia includes decreased T cell interleukin-2 production, reduced number and responsiveness of peripheral lymphocytes, abnormal cellular and humoral activity to neurons, and presence of brain-directed anti-brain antibodies, and prenatal exposure to influenza has a high incidence of schizophrenia. The data supporting the viral hypothesis is that there's an increased number of physical anomalies at birth and increased rate of pregnancy and birth complications, and seasonality of birth consistent with the viral infection, geographical clusters of adult cases, and seasonality of hospitalizations, inability to detect the genetic evidence of viral infection, which reduces the significance of all circumstantial data. The psychoneuroendocrinology is dexamethasone suppression test, which is abnormal in subgroups of patients in schizophrenia. They have persistent NOR suppression and poor long-term outcome, decreased concentration of LH and FSH, which is correlated with the age of onset and duration of illness. Abnormalities correlated with the negative symptoms, and GnRH or TRH is present in cases of a blunted release of prolactin and growth hormone, and apomorphine is present in case of blunted release of growth hormone. Psychosocial and psychoanalytical theories are Sigmund Freud, who said that developmental fixations early in life may lead to schizophrenia. Fixations will produce defects in the ego development, and these defects may contribute to symptoms of schizophrenia. Ego disintegration, that is return to time when ego was not developed or just began to establish. Ego affects the interpretation of reality and control of inner drives, that is sex and aggression. Ego functions are impaired, and intrapsychic conflicts arising from early fixation along with ego defect, poor early object relation may add a fuel to psychotic symptoms. Margaret Mahler, these are distortions in the reciprocal relationships between infant and a mother. Child is unable to separate and progress beyond the closeness and the mother-child relationship in the oral phase of development. Hence, person's identity never becomes a secure. Harry Stack-Sylvian revealed that schizophrenia is due to disturbances in interpersonal relatedness, that is, a patient's massive anxiety, sense of unrelatedness, parataxic distortions, mostly persecutory, and schizophrenia leads to adaptive method used to avoid panic, terror, and disintegration of sense of self, and cumulative experiential traumas during development, resulting in pathological anxiety. Paul Ferdinand was the one who said defects in ego functions results in hostility and aggressions to distort them, and the relationships may lead to personality disorganization and vulnerability to stress. Teenagers need a strong ego to function independently, to separate from the parents, to identify the task, to control increased internal drives, and to cope with the intense external stimulation. Hence, the onset of symptoms is during adolescence. Psychoanalytical theory reveals that symptoms of schizophrenia has a symbolic meaning. For example, fantasies of the world coming to an end, perception that person's internal world has a broken down, feelings of inferiority replaced by delusions of grandeur and omnipotence, hallucinations revealing patients' inability to deal with objective reality and represent inner wishes or fears, and delusions are regressive, restitutive attempts to create new reality or express hidden fears or impulses. The psychotic symptoms have a meaning in schizophrenia, that is, injury to self-esteem may become grandiose. Long-term follow-up studies have revealed that patients who conceal psychotic episodes don't benefit from psychotherapy, and patients who integrate the psychotic experience into their lives benefit from some inside-oriented approaches. Learning theories: children who later have schizophrenia learn irrational reactions and ways of thinking by imitating parents who have their own significant emotional problems, and poor models for learning during childhood have resulted in poor interpersonal relationship in schizophrenics. Family dynamics: double bind, which is formulated by Gregory Watson and Donald Jackson, describe a hypothetical family in which children receive a conflicting parental messages about their behavior, attitudes, and feeling. Watson's hypothesis was that children withdraw into psychotic state to escape the unsolvable confusions of double mind. Theory has a value only as a descriptive pattern, not as a casual explanation of schizophrenia. Example: parent tells a child to give cookies to his friends and then punishes him for giving too many cookies. Schism and skewed families: Theodore Litz described two abnormal patterns of family. From schism between parents: one parentally is overly close to that of an opposite gender, and skewed relationship between child and one parent, whose power of struggle between the parents and resulting dominance of one parent. They stress fragile adaptive capacity of schizophrenia. Pseudo-mutual and pseudo-hostile families: Lyman Wine showed that some families suppress emotional expression by consistently using pseudo-mutual or pseudo-hostile verbal communications. Unique verbal communications develops when a child leaves home and relate to others. The problem may arise. Child's verbal communication may be incomprehensible to outsiders. Expressed emotions: parents or caregivers may behave with overt criticism, hostility, and over-involvement towards schizophrenic patients, and families with high levels of expressed emotions have a higher relapse rate. Assessment of expressed emotions: analyzing what is said and manner in which it is said. So these are my references, mainly from Kaplan and Sarak of OTP and Synopsis and Star's Essential Psychopharmacology, and various websites for the pictures. And that's it. Thank you. Thank you so much.